Loyal citizens of Auradon, I have the pleasure of being an advisor to Her Royal Majesty Queen Ayrenn I, Eagle Primarch of the Aldmeri Dominion, High Queen of the Somerset Isles, Overfriend of the Royal Cameron House of the Wood Elven people, and boon companion to the Mane of the Khajiit. As Royal Advisor, I have prepared this brief account of Queen Ayrenn's life and history. Read that you might welcome our Queen into your hearts. For the people of the first Aldmeri Dominion, Queen Ayrenn was a hero, a champion of elven kind, a symbol to rally behind. She would lead the races of Altmer, Bosmer, and Khajiit in battles against the Ebonheart Pact and the Daggerfall Covenant in a contest for the Ruby Throne. It was a series of events that would come to be known as the Three Banners War. In her short life, Ayrenn has seen much of the world, exploring all corners of Tamriel, and through her travels she came to realize the folly of man. For too long had the brash and unwise races of men fumbled with the care of the land and its people, with their countless wars and petty disputes ruining the lives of many innocents. There was so much suffering that could be avoided by reinstating the wise and ancient rule of elves. This is her quest. This is her story. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to FudgeMuppet. My name is Scott, and today we're looking at the story of Queen Ayrenn Arana Aldmeri of Alinor. As the leader of the very first Aldmeri Dominion, her actions would come to shape not only the Second Era, but the attitudes of many Mer in the following years. Her life, rule, and philosophy are rooted in tradition, but also they are quite unique for the Altmer of Somerset, a product of the tumultuous times that she was born into. Ayrenn arrived in the world of Nirn on the 5th of Second Seed, year 555 of the Second Era, as the firstborn child of King Hedalith of Alinor and Kinlady Tuandan. For 55 days after her birth, the people of Somerset celebrated. Her conception, birth, and naming were all ordained by the Scrolls of Praxis, traditional precedents by which the rulers of Alinor based their decisions. The royal family was deeply respectful of such traditions, and they could even trace their lineage back to the divines who created Nirn itself. King Hedalith was said to exemplify the best of elven ceremoniarchy. The princess had been her whole life described as nimble and quick-witted, having excelled in her classroom studies and also her martial practices in the training yard. She was interested in not only Altmer history and the arcane arts, but also the ways of war. Days were spent sparring her father, honing her skills, and riding horses, gallivanting across the shimmering beaches that the Somerset Isles were so famous for. Sometimes, for days at a time, Ayrenn would simply disappear, secluding herself to focus wholly on her studies. She would return and impress others with a deep understanding of advanced topics, the kind of understanding that would take far longer for others to achieve. It was clear that she was skilled, ambitious, and driven, eventually seeking out knowledge that lay beyond the minds of her Altmeri tutors. At the age of 18, what typically should have happened is that Ayrenn go to the College of Sapiarchs to study for 3,555 days. Here she would have been instructed in the ways of elven rule, studying the sacred scrolls of Praxis. That is, if she actually went. To quote Headmaster Tannian, "The constellation of the lady seeming to ride the constellation of the steed, the great Ori spun backward, and a young eaglet was found atop the statue of Topol the Explorer." For those who can't see through the poetic mumbo-jumbo, what he essentially is trying to say is that Ayrenn had fled on horseback following in the spirit of Topol the Explorer, the ancient Aldmer who mapped the continent of Tamriel. Ayrenn had first sought out the Durrani Elves on the Isle of Balfiera, home to the Adamantine Tower. Here she was trained in the arts of war, transforming noble swordplay into deadly blade dancing. But it was unlike Ayrenn to stop in one area of study. She pressed the Durrani to teach her in the arts most arcane. Her horseback beach rides became forced marches as she honed her equestrian skills. Clearly, they paid off, considering that she is even said to have once rode a bear. With new skills and knowledge, she set out into the unknown, testing her abilities in a more practical sense. She hunted fearsome frost trolls in Skyrim, delved into the deepest of Dwemer ruins, flew an enormous kite on the winds of the Alakir Desert, and she even became the first mate of a pirate captain for a while. It does become hard to separate fact from fiction when you factor in tales of her out-drinking Queen Mabyan Flamehair, dancing with Nereids in the Elysian Hills, and disguising herself as a Dunmer to sneak into the vaults of Necrom so she could read the Indigo Tomes. She apparently even beat Red Guards at their own sword dance in Rehard, but even Ayrenn herself admits the exaggerations of her exploits. In her 7-year absence, she had seen all corners of Tamriel and gained invaluable insight, perspectives that could not be seen from the seclusion of Somerset. One such perspective was that of man's cruelty. At one point, she had been captured and tortured by Abnathan while visiting the Imperial City. She eventually escaped, but this incident did the Imperials no favors in her eyes. While some may have seen all of this adventuring as an abandonment of her royal duties, from her perspective, experiencing the dangers and joys of Tamriel had more than prepared her for the role that she was about to assume. By the year 580, King Hedleth had passed away, ascending to Aetherius, and Ayrenn's younger brother, Prince Naemon, had dutifully been preparing for the role of king. He, unlike Ayrenn, had followed in the footsteps of his ancestors, undergoing rigorous study under the Sapiarchs, preparing him formally for leadership of Somerset. Naemon began the extensive ceremonies lasting 88 days that led up to the official coronation. But some day before Naemon's crowning, a swan ship arrived in Port Velen, carrying Princess Ayrenn. The people of Somerset gathered at the exciting news, and she announced her intentions to them all. Ayrenn would exercise her birthright and claim the crown of Alinor. As the eldest sibling, the laws and customs offered no dispute. Even the High Justiciar confirmed her right to heritance. The title of Unforeseen Queen would be cemented this day, and on the 7th of Frostfall that year, she would be formally known as Queen Ayrenn Orana Aldmeri of Alinor. However, her ambitions would exceed the throne of Alinor. She had plans for all of Tamriel. But in order to successfully accomplish such lofty goals, she would need to look beyond the Ultima of Somerset. With the many connections that she had fostered over the years of adventuring, she would lay the groundwork that would result in the formation of the First Aldmeri Dominion with the signing of the Elden Accord. The Khajiit of Elsewhere and the Bosmer of Valenwood would join Queen Ayrenn and her Ultima people in her pursuit of the Ruby Throne. And Ayrenn would prove her value to her newfound allies by notably repelling a Colovian invasion of Valenwood, as well as providing aid in the wake of Elsewhere's Khanatan flu pandemic. Icantar of Shimmerine sums up the goals and attitude of both Ayrenn and the Dominion quite nicely. Only the Aldmeri, the High Elves and their noble allies, the Wood Elves and Catmen, have the wisdom and restraint to peaceably rule the disparate peoples of Tamriel. Though we are reluctant to take up this burden, events have shown that we must. Recent events prove that the Dragon Break was not a unique event. Men always follow the destructive path of their defender and apologist, the missing god whom we shall not name. This ends here. Once again, elves shall rule Tamriel from White Gold Tower, this time forever. The world has gone wrong, and we must put it right. The younger races have shown themselves to be destructive warmongers and childish rulers compared to the wisdom and patience of the long-lived elves, and most recently, the attempted plane meld by Molag Bal, allowed by Empress Clivia Tharn, only continues to prove their point. But with so many radical ideas and rapid changes to policy, such as the opening of Somerset's borders, one could expect a reasonable amount of resistance, including some that may take violent action. There have been many High Elves who would love nothing more than to see Queen Ayrenn deposed or assassinated. The Veiled Heritance was a group of such elves. It functioned as a covert band of Altmeri nationalists formed in response to Queen Ayrenn and the formation of the Aldmeri Dominion. They were dedicated entirely to the ideal of a pure and pristine Alinor, free of the lesser races. They believed isolationist practices and tradition were their strength, and Ayrenn opposed all of these ideas. The group was headed by a figure known as the Veiled Queen, who in fact turned out to be High Kinlady Estra of Erenorn, whom is actually the wife of Prince Naemon and sister-in-law to Ayrenn herself. However, after she was outed as a traitor, she led the group down a darker path, entering dealings with Daedra such as Mehrunes Dagon. She had even made deals with the Marama, the Sea Elves, aka the longtime enemies of the High Elves. Estra would be killed for her treachery, and her death would turn Prince Naemon against his own sister, resulting in his own demise. The Veiled Heritance never succeeded in their plans. As Molag Bal's wretched anchors ravaged Tamriel, it became clear to many that the conflict for the throne was enabling Molag Bal the chaos he desired. After some convincing, the three leaders, Queen Ayrenn, High King Emeric, and Joran the Skald King, met to establish a temporary truce. Molag Bal appears to them to gloat while releasing dark portals over the capitals of each alliance, which would threaten the very foundation of each. This meeting on the island of Stirk mustered a historic force that would end the Daedric Prince's attempt to rule Nirn before it was too late. Despite seeing what could be achieved if united, with Molag Bal out of the way, the Three Banners War raged on. The allure of an empty throne proved to be too much. It's easy to look at this from the outset and criticize the motivations of those leading the three alliances, but each believed they were fighting for something important to their people. For Ayrenn, that goal was to institute a rule better than the cruelty she'd witnessed firsthand. While many saw the work of Queen Ayrenn to be motivated by elven supremacy, she maintains that her political angle is for the good of all on Tamriel. I have no hatred for the races of man, but they are young. Like all children, they are driven by emotion. They lack the wisdom that comes with age. I would sooner place an Aldmeri infant on the Ruby Throne than surrender Tamriel to their capricious whims. The Aldmeri, the Bosmer, and the Khajiit share the common traits of intelligence, patience, and reason. We do not seek riches or plunder. Domination is not our goal, nor is the acclamation of power for its own sake. Queen Ayrenn is an anomaly amongst the traditionally rigid and ordered culture of Alinor. Whether right or wrong, her motivations seemingly came from a place of care for the people of Tamriel, as opposed to just the elves of Somerset. Ayrenn's rejection of Aldmeri traditions in order to seek out new ways to learn, fight, and rule made her a powerful symbol to many. But how do you feel about her? Do you believe in Ayrenn and her Aldmeri dominion, or view her as yet another pompous elf who believes in the false right to rule the races of man? But that, ladies and gentlemen, is for you to decide. Thanks so much for watching the story of Queen Ayrenn, and if you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like, and do head down into the comments below and let us know what other lore topics you would love to see covered. Thanks again, my name is Scott, subscribe for more awesome Elder Scrolls content, and I'll be back to nerd out with you again next time.